Good morning students, welcome in today's lecture. Today we are going to study about voice. Here students, in Marathi we call voice as prayog, and voice we have two types of voice. Here I have written on the blackboard active voice and passive voice. Now what is mean by active voice or what is mean by passive voice? Before starting to study about how to change active into passive or passive into active, it is very important to know, to understand meaning of active voice and meaning of passive voice. So first, active voice. Now from the title itself you will understand what is mean by active voice. Here in this word we have active. This word is used, and active means a person who takes participation in various activities. We can call that person that he is very active person. एखादी व्यक्ती जर एखाद्या वेगवेगळ्या कार्यक्रमामध्ये भाग घेत असेल तर आपण सहज असं म्हणतो की तो खूप ॲक्टिव्ह आहे. ॲक्टिव्ह मीन्स हु इज ऑलवेज इन ॲक्शन, who always do various actions, that person we call as an active. Here related to voice also we have the same meaning. Active means here doer of the action is important. Means who is doing that particular action, that is important, or we can call it as subject also. We can call it as subject also. So when the subject of a sentence performs the verb's action, when the subject of that sentence performs that action, at that time we can call that voice as an active voice, because in active voice subject is important. Now see next, passive voice. Now what is mean by passive voice? From the title itself you will understand. Passive means who is calm and quiet, or who doesn't take participation in various programs. Here related to the voice, passive voice means where that particular action is important, subject is not important, at that time we use passive voice. And in our activity sheet we have 1 mark grammar sentence on active voice and passive voice. If the sentence is given in active voice, then we have to change that active into passive, or if sentence is given in passive, then we have to change that sentence into active voice. Now with the help of examples we will see how to change active into passive and passive into active. Students, in earlier videos you have learned, we have studied about the tenses. What are the structure of various tenses? What are the tenses? What are the subtenses? And each tense has its own structure. And according to that structure, we have to change active into passive or passive into active. We will start with simple present tense. Now for that purpose we will take one example. He notices some movement. Now we will understand, or we will find the tense of this particular sentence. Remember, before turning active into passive or vice versa, it is very important you must be able to identify And so first we have to identify tense of this particular sentence. And as we have to identify the tense, we have to find out subject, then verb, and then object, because this is the structure which is used in English. Now first we have to find out subject. Now here subject is always at the beginning of the sentence. So he is the subject. Then notices is verb. Now see, here we have used notice, this particular verb, and we added yes to the verb notice. Now why we add this yes to the verb notice? Here we have to remember that rule. When we use third person pronoun like he, she or it, then always in simple present tense we have to add yes or es to the verb, and remaining is the verb of that, object of that sentence. Now we get the structure of the sentence: yes plus V plus O, and this is the structure of simple present tense. But this particular structure is of active voice. He notices some movement. The tense used in the sentence is simple present tense, and the sentence is in active voice. Now next comes, we have to change active voice into passive voice, and as it is simple present tense, now we have the structure of simple present tense of passive voice. Here in a passive voice we have to begin sentence with object. Then as the tense used in the sentence is simple present tense, we have to use helping verbs from simple present tense or present tense, and those helping verbs are am, is, or are. Okay. Then as we have to change the voice, we have to turn the voice into passive, we have to use third form of the verb, and then we have to use by, then we have to use subject. Okay. Now this is the structure of passive voice, structure of passive voice of simple present tense. Once again, object plus am, is or are plus V3, or we can call it as past participle also, plus by plus subject. Okay, now we have to turn this active into passive, and structure is in front of us. So we begin with object, and in the given sentence we have object some movement. Then we have to use am, is or are. Remember, we can use am only after I pronoun. Okay. Then is and are. When subject is singular, we have to use is, and when subject is plural, then we have to use are. So here some movement is, then V3, third form of the verb. Here verb is noticed, and third form of the verb is noticed. By, now he changes into him, and now passive voice will be some movement is noticed by him. So this is how we have to change active into passive voice with the help of these given structures. Once again, this is the structure voice of the given sentence. Now we turn towards the next, and it is very interesting to learn how to change active voice into passive voice. And our next tense is present continuous tense. Now first I'll write structure of present continuous tense. See, subject plus am oblique is or are plus VING plus object. Once again, subject plus am or is or are plus VING means we add ing suffix to the main verb and then object. This is the structure of present continuous tense. Okay, present continuous tense. Now we have to turn this active voice of present continuous tense in passive voice, and for that purpose now again we must know structure of passive voice. Now here we have written a sentence. We are going to take the same example. He is noticing some movement. Now we have to turn this active voice into passive voice. And now what is the structure of passive voice? Here object plus am, is or are. Object plus am, is or are plus being plus V3 plus by plus subject. Now there must be a question in your mind why we have to use being, because always remember in passive voice we have to use third form of the verb, that is past participle, and here we have to use past participle of the verb and we have to remain continuous tense. That's why here we use being. Now here we are going to write same sentence. We have to begin sentence with object, some movement, then am, is, are. Here we use is, being noticed by me. Some movement is being noticed by me. So this is the structure of passive voice of present continuous tense. Now we are going to take next tense. Next tense is present perfect tense, and here we are going to take example of present perfect tense. But before that we must know what is the structure of present perfect tense. So subject plus have or has plus V3 plus object, and this is the structure of present perfect tense. Now we have to write down one sentence of a present Then have or has, we have used has. Here we have helping verb. Then noticed is the third form of the verb. Then some movement is the object. And so our structure is subject plus have, has plus V3 plus object, which is we used in active voice. Now the structure of passive voice of present perfect tense. Here structure of passive voice of present perfect tense is object plus have or has plus V3 plus by plus subject. And now we have to write the same sentence in passive voice. We begin our sentence with some movement. Some movement has been noticed by him. Here we begin our sentence with object, then have or has helping verb, then been noticed V3 plus by plus subject him. So this is how we have the structure of present perfect of active voice and passive voice. And next type of sentence is present perfect continuous tense. But we can't change present perfect continuous tense into passive voice. So here today we have studied how to change active into passive voice or passive to voice of the simple present tense, then present continuous tense, present perfect continuous tense,